for it. Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Another episode of Yankee and the Canuck on the Orange Podcast Bad channel. Don't we have the president?
No, I think
Hello everybody, Yankee and the Canuck, as you just heard during the song. The title of this show, and we'll travel wherever we travel, is geopolitics is not as important as your relationship with God. And I see a lot of people, Edward, fighting about the potential peace in the Middle East and with Islam and Trump including people in this deal who are Islamic nations. And I guess the question would be like, as a Christian, how should we feel about this? Because politically, it's a totally different look, and I can explain what Trump is trying to accomplish here. But politically, you look at Islam. Let me just start there and say, well, it's incompatible with Christians.
Yeah. Well, we know that. Yeah, diametrically opposed. I mean, you couldn't get any more opposite of theology than those. Well, when I say those two, I mean Christianity and the Islamic faith.
Islam.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to go into the other ones we've talked about so many times before, like Catholicism and the Jehovah Witnesses and the Latter Day Saints, and all. I'm just sticking with just plain old Christianity, not the other ones, just Christianity as it is, and Islam. Those two are very much apart. Where Catholicism and Islam, it's not that far apart. They're probably more in unison than any other religion. I say that because of the laws, the sacraments, the laws they follow, nothing else. Just the laws are most important to them. Not that they aren't for Christianity, but we have a different way of looking at things. Not just the
Well,
law.
Ian, I obviously don't disagree with you. When you look at Islam, right?
Yeah.
When you look at this specifically, you got to understand that. Well, not all like the comments we always hear, or the shit we get in our comment section is not all Islam is the same. By the way, I'm opening up the chat if you guys want to have some
Well,
commentary.
let's get the
Right.
hand all over.
Well, totally. But is it not all Islam is the same? And they use the excuse that not all Christians are the same. And they point out the different, but they are the same, even though they maybe don't personally want like the total like
Well,
condemnation and the ability to. And I'm only saying this is a maybe, that they don't want to take over the world and convert everyone to Islam. I'm going to say no, that is the religion. That
yeah.
is the religion, and it says so in their books.
And you know what? When you say that they're not all the same, I don't care about the style or type of church music you want to listen to. If that's not the same, that doesn't make it different. I mean, so you choose different music or worship sessions are a little different. Big deal. The I guess the message is still the same no matter where you go. In Christianity, the message is always still the same. The heart is what has to be right, not just following the law, which is why I said to begin with, that's all Islam and the Catholic faith or belief is all about. They haven't followed with their hearts yet. That's just, as long as they just do and follow the sacraments, that's good enough for them and they can continue on normal life without giving it a second thought until next week. And this is where we find ourselves. But yeah, I had to throw that in there more
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
clarification.
no, no, but, could you clarify? Because a lot of people, and I've personally been around, like, Saudi Muslims that had moved to Indiana in a neighborhood where, and the Saudi crown prince, hold on, was, right, paying for one of them to become a doctor, and then, paying for the rent, paying for everything else for them to live inside of the United States with a visa. So legal, we're talking about immigrants. There's a difference between illegal and legal. This was a visa migrant family from Saudi Arabia, and he said, "No, no, no, we're yeah, the Saudi crown prince is paying for all of this so that my wife can go to IU medical, right, and become a doctor,
Yeah,
and then take all of that back home." And you go, well, hold on. You go, well, those appear to be non-violent, and I would actually, you look at it because I met them, they were not. What is their compensation and goal of making Saudi Arabia, right, the place where all of the people learned from American medical schools into it's all about them, is because the ultimate goal, right, of Islam is it's jihad.
domination,
Yeah.
precisely. Yeah, to overtake. The whole world has to be, that's their thinking, that's their teaching, Islam. And we're not having any part of that, of course, because we can't. We can't assimilate or become the same as them because we're completely different. We think different. We know different. We have different reasoning and fundamentals where they don't have that same, how do I say, starting point. Too different.
No, it's totally incompatible. I'm not trying to jeer or to veer, sorry, into geopolitics at this point, but
Yeah.
they're vastly different,
And I don't want to say
right?
that politics isn't wrong either, or that we shouldn't be following that, because that is part of our duty and job, as far as following what's going on in the world, putting our 2 cents worth in and supporting the right people and the right, I guess, terms and thinking. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But to make it your whole
Well,
life, your whole
no,
world,
no, let,
that's
let, hold on, Edward. Let me ask you this. I'm going to turn the direction quickly. So, a lot of people say when they are not Christian, they might be even atheists or the non-believers in anything, right? They
right,
go, "Well, the Crusades, you
right.
guys," and I say, "No, no, no. You don't even understand what the Crusades were, and it wasn't a Christian war." But we they go, what's the difference between jihad and the crusade?
We as Christians go, and I'm talking going back to King Richard the Lionheart. Remember, going back what to the 14th, 15th century now, where
Mhm.
Muslims were taking over Europe, and well, they already had done that back in 1000, but the second big invasion, I guess you could say, actually was. We had to drive them back because we couldn't coexist because we're too different as far as our culture goes, which goes back to what our beliefs are. What you believe in is going to dictate what your culture is. People don't understand that. So, uh, in North America today, we're having a culture war. People don't really realize that, but that's really what it comes down to. It's not a race war, it's a culture war. It comes down to what we believe in. Christians believe differently than what Islams do, and the Catholics believe different what the Protestants do. So we're having this cultural battle still go on to this very day. Had nothing to do with race. So back in those days, driving back the Muslims to where they are coming or advancing from was our duty and job, and we were successful. Uh, the same thing's happening today, but it's not being recognized. What are you going to do about that?
No, well, yeah, that's true, but again, I think we're in an era where people, and because of the way we've taught the West through school in the last 30 years, maybe 40 years, great to hate the West, to hate Christianity, but it is that right? You guys are the problem, and we should invite Islam in, and we should give them free pass. Or you could you need to like then it gets again. Now we're going to get political if we do this, but you should support changing people's biological sex at 13 years old through gender mutilation. Right? But is the philosophy of the left no different than the philosophy of the Muslims who want to conquer you?
It is not. You're right. And when people say my philosophy is this, what they're really saying is my understanding of the world comes down to this, and then they blow out one statement. You're thinking, wow, and that's pretty shallow. But yeah, no, they're tied because whether you're marrying a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old kid, or how do you say mutilating? I guess you could just say mutilating these kids at young ages, to be something other than they're not. Again, it's the same thing. You're actually taking away or destroying a life by, well, you've
Well,
changed
wait. No, I gotta get you real quick. What was the excuse everybody has always said about Muhammad, who married a child?
the
But they
9 year
say,
old.
well, he waited until she was 13. A child.
Well,
Am I wrong?
yeah,
That's been their argument.
no, he married the 9-year-old kid, and even if he did wait till she was 13, my God, come on. And I don't even believe that because that story's changed a lot too over the years. I think that's the Muslim Brotherhood trying to cover for, the well, how do you say the just absolute sickness of what's going on there? To where even 13 is still too young. It's still retarded. But hey, that's where we're at with these people. So where can you go with that? I'm just dead set against it. The whole thing. I don't care if it's a mutilization of kids to the marrying off of these innocent kids to oh god anyways it's horrible, absolutely horrible. So yeah, I'm dead set against all that. That's why we can't coexist with such deep seated, and I don't know what you want to aside from sinister or diabolical, what else do you want to call that type of behavior that uh un unregulated it's just so I don't even know what to call it. Immature, I guess. Not developed. There's no other word I can use. I
My
mean,
only guess is
you
that this is a way for the West, the people in the West that want to see the West die for whatever reason, because they think,
must
oh,
have
we'll be able to bring in socialism or communism, and everyone will have
oh, yeah.
free health care or
Chicken in every pot thing. Yeah.
universally high income. This is a way I see that the West, especially in the American West, right, that they're trying to bring this in. The problem is they don't even know what that brings because eventually they're calling the tax the rich. Like so tax Elon Musk. Go look at the numbers, and they're saying he's worth 500 billion. He doesn't have 500 billion in his bank account. Take it.
No,
The United States has 37, almost $38 billion in debt.
yeah,
Take his money. It
40 now.
doesn't cover it. It doesn't even get close to covering it.
I
Nothing.
know.
When you go from billion to trillion, add 1,000 billions
People don't
to the
understand
number
that.
we're talking about.
A billion was, and when I was growing up, we didn't have a billion on a calculator. See, 1998, 1999, I had to buy a special calculator to get to a billion because it just wasn't common on a calculator to get the 1 billion extra digit to do math on. A trillion
Right.
is so much bigger and larger than that. I don't, from a million to a billion, it's so vast, so big. I think it takes 33 and a third years to count to a billion in every 1 second intervals. And a million, I think it only takes like something like 11 and a half months or something. Anyways, can't remember.
But what, like even do that math. So one to get to a billion, you need 1,000 million dollars to be a billionaire. To be a trillionaire, you need 1,000 billion dollars or $1 trillion, right? Billion
Billion.
to be a trillionaire.
Yeah,
The number of zeros behind all of this is
I
unbelievable.
know.
And to my point, all of those that are billionaires, or they say Elon might be the first trillionaire, take all of their money and you still can't pay off the
I know.
United States debt. Period. Can't
It's
happen.
huge. It is just huge. But then again, with inflated values or inflated numbers going back to the base dollar, and I don't even want to get into this, it's a whole conversation. But if you took care of inflation and how our dollars have inflated or devalued the dollars and inflated everything else, you'll get to a realistic place where we can all deal in. But yeah, because of the inflation and deflation of the dollar, everything had to get bigger. So, and in these numbers, but that's because, everything's gold and silver's been tamped down. And if it wasn't, we'd be seeing real $50,000 an ounce for gold would actually bring things back in perspective again, but we're not going to get there. So it's pointless even talking about it.
No, no, yeah, no. But well, gold. We can get into that, and gold is always
It's real
a
money.
thing that people they rush to when they see
Well, yeah.
some sort of economic problem. But
Yeah.
we
It's
also got to
significant.
look at this from a standpoint of the reason people are buying gold right now is because they see world prices destabilizing, and and a lot of the left are coming out and say, "Well, look, Donald Trump's raising inflation. Donald Trump's doing this, and inflation happens." Under every government ever since, at least American government since we installed the Federal Reserve because we're borrowing money from people that don't even exist yet. We're borrowing money from great 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 grandchildren that don't exist yet. But hear me out. I think there's a weird way to fix this. And everyone's gonna go, wait, what? We need to understand that there's going to be a deflationary process that happens in the housing market, in the stock market, and everyone's going, "Whoa, I'm gonna lose." But say, your dad bought a house for 150 grand, or pick a number, but now today, 20 years later, it's worth 570 grand, and you go, why? Well, because we use those inflated prices to tax people. So if we eliminate the availability for people to be taxed on their property,
Yeah.
well, you buy something. You go. Ron DeSantis said it best a week ago. You go buy a TV from Best Buy. It's the best TV you can possibly get. You pay $2,000 for it, and you pay a sales tax once. You never pay a property tax on it every year. It's to change the tax system into a place where we're only paying on something once, like a sales tax. Sales tax still would fund the government. Here's the problem: government doesn't know how to calculate that. That's why they want your sales tax. That's why they want your income tax. That's why they want your property tax. That's why they want excise on gasoline tax. That's what I can keep going on.
Well, we did build roads without taxes. Before we had a taxation system, we still built roads and bridges and everything without a tax base. So we can still go back to
Did,
those
did,
days.
did you know they were privatized? At least in America, they were privatized.
Here too, even the bridges were, but so you paid 10 cents to cross a bridge. Big deal. I don't
Yep.
care. I didn't have to do it, and I'll do that because it's cheap. They may have
Does
to pay
any
it
does
themselves.
anyone know does anyone know that? No, because I don't think they do. No,
I
literally, plank roads, bridges, ferries,
yes. Yeah.
fording,
Yep.
right, before,
Yep.
when we're still on, horses and carts.
Yeah.
You were passing through private property, which the government seized from somebody to
Yeah.
build a road later or a bridge later. These were all private properties, and you would, to Edward's point, you literally would pay 10 cents to ride their ferry across a river or to ford across the river on their private property or ride their road.
Yeah.
Plank roads, to be clear, for anyone that doesn't understand what that is, it literally just they put boards down, planks, so that your wagon wasn't stuck in the mud the whole
It's old
time.
school, but it's true. Yep. Old
And
school.
that was still happening in the 1850s.
Hmm. Now,
Uh,
you could still ford across the river. You just have to get permission if you're riding on somebody's land on a horse. You could still, if it was in the summertime, the river's low, anybody could cross. But it's when it's not, that's when you got trouble. So, it's seasonal, of course, but then you got to pay for it. So, but like I said, it wasn't that much money. So, I'm all for that rather than this system we got today, which is right out of control. Yeah, we could go into a conversation with that forever almost.
well, well, Nancy Pelosi said you wouldn't even have a job to work at if we didn't build the roads. And I present to you, we
That's not
built the
true.
roads
Yes,
200 years ago, not you, government.
I know. And the old saying, all roads lead to Rome, because Rome
We
had
no no
roads
no.
2,000, 3,000 years or 2,500 years ago. So, I
Even
mean, that's nothing new.
even worse, they stole the roads
Yeah. Well,
by commandeering the property.
not unlike we're doing today, but yes, that's very true. And yeah, they can pretty much do whatever they want. There is no true land ownership, because if you hold out, they'll find another way of getting it from you anyway. So, you pretty much have to ride or side with the government and do what they want. So that's where we're at today. Maybe America's a lot different, but not here.
So, what do the Canucks think about Trump's peace deal in the Middle East?
Loving it. Now, I don't make it my whole life now because I already know what's going to happen
No,
anyway.
no, but you're on channels on different social medias.
Hmm.
What are people say? What are Canucks saying about this deal?
A lot don't know. They don't know any different.
Wow.
They just have no idea. They'd rather not be a part of anything in Ukraine, anything in Israel, anything anywhere. Just keep the money in the country and tell everybody else to get lost. That's the general consensus or thinking around the country. It's just leave us alone. Just keep the money here, and we'll just instead of trying to feed the world or whatever, just keep the money here, look after our own first, which our government's never done that in I don't know how long, decades anyways, maybe more. Yeah, I'm going to say at least maybe half a century now. But yeah, so they're all on that side. That's what the general thought, and I don't blame them. Except, well, Israel's going to take care of itself anyways. It's already been prophesied in the Bible. You read Revelations, it already tells you how it's going to end up. We don't have to support them. We already know how it's going to turn out. So, and the same thing with Russia and Ukraine. Another, dead dog. They're beating a dead horse. So quit it already. Just stop it. But we're still donating money. I don't know why, but I know why, because that's their piggy banks. Well, that's how they're getting their,
Of, of course.
these $100 million bank accounts when they get what 170 no 200 something thousand dollars a year. You don't get to $100 million making that kind of money unless you're like the Nancy Pelosi says, on investing wisely, and no doubt she is playing the markets because she's controlling them. But she's also, taking and robbing everybody from the donations to Haiti, and relief funds from earthquakes. All that money, they're not giving it to them; they're taking it. They're worse than the governments over there. These Democrats, but don't get
Wait,
me going
wait,
on
wait,
that.
all right, hold on. It doesn't matter whether it's the Catholic Church or the Christian Church or the Protestant Church or the Mormons or I, when it comes to places like Haiti, when it comes to other places all across the world. Now, I totally believe, yes, you are supposed to spread the good news.
Yeah.
And so I believe missionaries, true missionaries, not social media grifter missionaries, are supposed to spread the good news in places that might even be dangerous to them or that they might get imprisoned. But
Yeah.
when we look at the work, like that reminds me of like the Clinton Foundation.
Oh,
We're giving money in a Christian way. Really, how Christian is it to give money to people
yeah.
in Haiti? It let me even go farther and say, let's get into the Middle East because we did that for 20
Mm,
plus years until we
or more.
stopped.
Yeah.
And it, you gotta, like, everybody needs to understand that they do not want to be Western.
No.
They don't care that they're goat farmers.
And you know
They
what?
don't care that they don't have modern internet.
No.
Even though their government elite has modern internet and electricity, they don't care. They want nothing to do with the West, and they also want nothing to do with Christianity.
Uh, that much I'm not sure about because there's a lot of countries in the Middle East that are Christian based or were till Muslim took them over. But for fear of losing your head, of course, you're going to say, no, you're not Christian. But actually, there's some pretty big Christian movements from Iran, Iraq. Many of them still Christian based today. Even have some of my on my page on X as far as how big some of those movements are. Of course, not publicized because on the threat of death, you're not going to say that. But that's another point altogether. But I got to say, as far as the Middle East goes, yeah, it's still, I think, predominantly overrun by Muslim, but big Christian base is still there. Israel's the only one that's kind of a Jewish slash Christian slash, all the other different sects of Judaism going on over there. And there's six major ones. People think, oh, the Jews said, yeah, but what sect of Judaism are you talking about? People don't understand that. They think it's all the same because, they're dum-dums. They haven't researched it or anything. They just think that, oh, Judaism's all the same. It's not, but they don't know that. So,
Well, but isn't that the same thing as maybe what Rush Limbaugh called the low or no information voter,
love that guy.
right? So, and you could equate this to religion too, is that they don't know. They
Oh, yeah.
just see a tiny little thing on their phone and they're like, "Ah, all Jews are bad," or it could also go the other way. Don't get me wrong; all Muslims are bad. We'll have those conversations on this podcast. We will, but we're just. I'm looking at human behavior where they assume something because they had some media that they consumed, and now all of a sudden they have a total belief system and they have no actual knowledge
Yeah.
about what's going on.
It's sad. And I
They
wish
don't even know who Muhammad is.
I know. I wish we'd have some channel to go to or some place where it would expound on these important issues that no one seems to be talking about. Anywhere you go, even on, and I hate to say it, but this legacy media, if you want to call it that, they got nothing. I mean, even if they did tell you or try to explain what it is, it'd be wrong because it's mainstream media. It's completely wrong and on so many levels. So we need to have a place to go to. Everybody knows that you're going to get some good information or different information besides just what you're getting on mainstream. Somebody that's actually done some thinking and some work on it instead of just following what everyone else is saying because well everyone else is saying that, so I'll just repeat that and on my own channel and everybody will know from me. Big deal. That's where we're at. Internet. Too few.
No, you're right. You're right, but here we are.
Well, but just too few people out there have.
I know, but here we are. Promote it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Everyone listening live, promote it because we're talking about it. We're one of the only channels that talks about it.
Yeah. I got a question for you though. What's your stand on how you see in America today from the clips I've seen, the American ones, everybody seems to be pretty much pro the peace talks and hopefully that if things are going as peaceful as they're going, the Muslims we have here can now go home, get lost, get back. You can now go back to your home. You're not refugees. You're claiming the refugee status. You can just get going home. That goes for the well, all of them basically. But I don't want to get into that. 'Cause it's a long conversation. But yeah, immigration can finally be.
It is. I'll try to give it to you quickly. So Donald Trump changed our position, Americans' position, on what we're going to do with the Middle East. The Middle East was always, well, you guys are Muslims. We're just going to blow you up. George H.W. Bush,
I remember,
George
yeah,
W.
yeah.
Bush. And then, and he's saying, no, actually, do you guys like money? They're like, yeah, we like money. And he goes, we could all do a lot of trade and make money. And he goes, well, I know Turkey doesn't like Syria. I know Iran doesn't like Israel. Hold on, hold on. Let's start with we could all make money, and then we can talk. That's when we can talk. Once everybody's making money, once we're all trading, this is where Donald Trump is totally unique in American policy. And he said, "Listen, no, I know you're still gonna hate so and so, but when you're getting billions of dollars in trade, then we can talk." And he says, "I will be there. We can talk. We can work out the differences."
Yeah.
Right? And you
Well,
look at this, you go. I'll be honest with you, Edward. I grew up in an era where the Middle East was the worst place on the planet
I
because
know.
of Muslims, and that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay for me to feel that way. But
Uh-huh.
when I watch Donald Trump, I watch how he's saying, yeah, but you guys aren't listening. None of you are listening. We can all get super rich
Well,
by
it's okay.
trade. And then here's the point. Once now all of a sudden you have an income stream, why do you want to fight those other people that are giving you an income stream?
I guess if that's the only reason you're doing it is for money and nothing else, I suppose. But
It removes it removes the ideology.
I'm still dead set against that, though. There's got to be a very good
Sure,
reason why you're doing what you're reading. You know what? If you're going to
sure.
be serious about the Middle East and set the people free, and we need that from the bondage that Muslim has placed over them, and it's even coming over to here. So they say it's going to get here. I can't see it, but perhaps it
Oh,
will. Don't know because you need a lot more numbers of people than what they got and brought over for that to happen. And hopefully that's almost stopped now. But I think the rest of that will take care of itself pretty soon because I know a lot of people are getting ticked off, and it won't be long because I know.
there's total just like in America. There's total cities that are controlled by Muslims
I
in
know.
Canada.
Well, not only that. Look at Minnesota. Look what's happened there with the I forget the group of
Yep,
people. They're ill,
Somalis.
Somalia, yeah, Somalis. There's like 50,000 strong in one city. I forget which one it is. The St. Paul, Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul area. I can't remember. And I think that is the twin cities that they're dominant in. It was supposed to be the experimental communist city from years, decades ago when it first started. So I guess they've got that pretty much on the go. Hopefully, they find some solution to get rid of that. And I don't know how they're going to do that, but that's just getting to be too ridiculous. We already seen what happened with the riots and what they did to those businesses and city streets and everything. Still not repaired. Insurance isn't paying for it. They want the owners of the businesses to, when that wasn't their fault that the police couldn't do their job, you know. So who's going to pay? I don't know, but that's the mess the whole thing's in right now, and it could happen anywhere.
Oh,
Well,
and it does happen anywhere. It happens everywhere. Let's take America out of it for a second and then look at Europe and the European Union and the amount of mass immigration they have invited,
well,
and it's not Christian.
you could say that about
And
Canada, though. Yeah.
it's terrible. I mean, like terrible. And then like especially look at England, right? Where if you post something on the internet, a tweet or a Facebook post or whatever that's anti-immigration, you go to jail.
I
Why
know.
is that?
I know. Too much truth telling going on out there, I think, and the government doesn't like it. So it's the only way they could go is by putting in a law that you can't be truthful or tell the truth about what we're up to or what we're doing or the direction we're heading into. So the moment you do that, we're gonna have to throw you in jail and call it, you know, whatever. You can call it hate speech, you can call it whatever you
Do you,
want.
do
It's
you think the Democrat Party, because they already did that to Americans,
what
would
they
do
did.
that again? Yeah. Oh, hell, yeah, they did under Barack Obama.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
in
Well,
the jail. But don't you think they would do that immediately if they were able to seize power again in the United States?
the Democrats, like an Obama type of government again, that type of administration you're
Well,
talking about.
if they get power, they will be even worse
Well, yeah.
than Barack Obama.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, I think everybody senses that too. That's why, you know, everybody's kind of teeter tottering. A lot of Democrats have already switched over, saying, "No, this is too ridiculous. I can't keep going on this way." They've already dropped the Democrats and they've already switched over to, well, I would hope not Republican, but more a MAGA based than Republican, because Republicans, they still sit on the fence too much and allow way too much. Look at Mitch McConnell. You know, that guy, turtle. I mean, all the stuff that it bothers me to no end, but I shouldn't talk because we got dum dums up here that are doing the same thing. Supposedly conservatives like Pierre, and he's hardly anything but a conservative. You know, he's another globalist, but I don't want to get into that. But yeah, so there's that going on. Yeah. So aside from the geopolitics that we've been talking about, I still say life is still temporary. Don't take it so seriously. Don't get so wrapped up in geopolitics that's going to be your end all and be all, because the whole ending's already been planned out, already talked about. We already know how the whole thing's going to end if you just read one book. Well, actually, you can read a few of them in the New Testament. The last one is the one that where you can tell and see, you know, where everything's going to head and what's going to happen, and we're already pretty much there as far as second, third chapter. We've already gone through all those other prophecies of where we're going to end up. So you know what? It's already been taken care of. Worrying about it's not going to change anything. It's not going to, you know, advance or digress or die progress, I should say, from where we are today. It's not going to change anything. So we just have to roll with it, and you know, that's that.
So, all right, I'll pivot there. Moving to Charlie Kirk, obviously, was given
Bill of
the
freedom.
freedom medal of freedom.
Yeah.
When we look at Kirk, we can successfully say, yeah, he's probably in heaven. But Trump, a lot of the things he's done, and a lot of this came out of the Nobel Peace Prize. I really don't give a
Oh,
crap about
that's
it.
the thing.
I don't give a crap about the Nobel Peace Prize what I'm asking is, and I've asked this question online, does anyone know if Donald Trump has accepted Jesus Christ as a savior? Because that's the most important thing to do to
Yeah.
start your mission
Somebody
into
told me
Christianity.
that he's turned Jewish and he's not Christian, so I don't know how true that is.
But
There was
I don't think that's true. But the question again, I'm going to put it out there: has he accepted Jesus Christ as a savior? And all Christians know exactly what I'm talking about.
well, Christians would, yeah,
And
but
I don't know if he has. I
I don't
don't
know
know if he
either.
has.
I've never heard. I've heard the opposite from a couple, but as far as that goes, no, that's something that he's never talked about openly. I mean, Obama, the liar that he was, said, "Oh yeah, I'm Christian." That he was absolutely opposite. Everything he ran on became a 180-degree flip. He said he was straight, turned out to be gay. He said he was a Christian, turned out to be Muslim. Said he was this, turned out to be that. Said he was, just nonstop. Every single thing he said was a complete lie, a complete opposite to what he actually turned out to and admitted later on. But by that time, it's too late. The damage is done. They say, "Oh, we'll just vote him out." Yeah, but how do you fix the damage? You can't. It takes too long. So, but people don't understand that or don't want to understand that. They don't
Well,
even think
again,
that seriously or heavily about it.
is there a chance you could explain why being saved is the most important thing, and that even so-called Christian denominations who don't participate in this don't get why that's the first thing you're supposed to do?
You mean the first thing, as far as being saved as a Christian, you mean? The most important thing? Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's nothing else. I mean, your eternity is the one thing that you're banking and staking your whole existence and being on. If you want to believe in bent spoons and UFOs, you're going to bank your entire existence on that. You go right ahead. But it's going to take a heck of a lot more faith to believe in that stuff than it is just in the actual creator, maker, uh, God than what you're thinking. So, yeah, that's most important because once you're dead is dead, but once you're punished eternally through fire. I don't know about you, but I've had a hot summer and I'm not built for the heat, not that kind of heat. To have that 24/7 forever, I don't know. I'm not doing it. So I'm making sure I don't have to go through that and, have an eternity of uh, not heat, but actual, comfortability. That's what I'm aiming for and living for and playing for and trying to do my part of my job as well because I'm responsible still to look after things and make them as proper as they are. But yeah, that's what I'm doing.
So when I see Trump say, "I'm just not worthy. I'm not sure if I'll ever get in heaven," that's what brings me to the question that maybe he's never accepted salvation or requested salvation.
That's what
That's what I'm
I
saying.
never heard him say that before, so I don't know. I've
Oh
never heard
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Oh,
He said, I don't know if I'll ever make it. I don't know if I'm worthy," which makes me think
well,
he
sometimes I think,
maybe maybe he's Catholic, but I don't know. I don't know. But he's saying this publicly that I don't know that I deserve heaven, and it's there's video. We could pull it up. I'm not going to do it tonight. Of him saying this stuff, even after Charlie Kirk, even after
well,
peace in
yeah.
the Middle East, right? And I get humility. That's totally fine, but my question has always been for even the people who love Trump: has he ever accepted Christ as as a savior?
Well, you know what? One thing we do know, he is not our savior. Love the guy, like the guy as a
Nope.
president, but he's not our savior. I mean, I'm just looking at the guys being responsible enough to run a country and on the values and principles that we all follow. Yes, correct's done it right. So that's why, I like the guy as a leader. I'm not going to marry the guy. I'm not going to send him a postcard. I don't care. I just want him to do his job to the best of his ability. And he's doing it. He's killing it. So I like that part
Yeah.
about him. And no, I'm not having a relationship with the guy, so I don't care about the rest of it, and nor should you. And you never have with any other president. Why you make such a big deal of this one is what I want to know. I know why, but I don't want to take up the time as far as explaining that. But yeah, that's where I stand on it. Great guy, great president, but yeah, no, I'm not in a relationship with the guy, so I don't care. Right? Am I alone on
Great.
that?
Wait,
Come on.
wait. You're saying great president. Can you name a president greater than Trump? I
Uh,
mean, I
really?
obviously will present to you Lincoln.
Yeah, no, that was a whole different era though with different problems, but he didn't stand alone going through all the stuff that Trump is doing every day to day. Now granted, he had a strong opposition, you know the story. And yes, the closest I could get besides that would say I liked Ronald Reagan. Now I know Reagan was good, but he wasn't anything. Nixon took a real tar beating, didn't he, from the CIA and the rest of the Democrats? Did he get his just desserts? No. Did he get what was coming to him? No, because that's not anything what happened. But because we're so brainwashed, the media, the CIA, and FBI, the dirty dogs that they are at the top, yeah, that was just horrible what they did to Nixon. But yeah, I didn't want to go. But yeah, I have to say Reagan would have to be my, as far as current presidents go. I did like, give him hell, Harry Truman. I liked him, although he was a Democrat. I still liked him and what he represented and stood for at the time. But yeah, no, it's going to be Reagan.
No, but so Truman, you bring up a great point. Truman today would be in a
Oh,
right
God.
wing. No, he would be a right wing extremist,
Extreme extremist. I know. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's the
For
goalpost
the
moved
first
that
president.
far. Yeah. I'm with you. But I still liked him anyways. I liked his honesty. I liked his abruptness. I like it, when he got those guys to make that report out and he got it in his desk, he says, "What? Is this thick?" He says, "I want this back on my desk tomorrow morning." He's all went to university. If it's not 6 pages or less so I can read it quickly, you're all fired. I love that about the guy because he knew what he had to deal with. And these scum buckets in government today, are just that. They're ill-equipped. They don't know enough what's going on. They're overeducated for the dumbness that they got. I mean, what they think they can offer the world, and they're doing the world as just this great big service, and they're not, but they think that because they're taught that. And Harry Truman knew that already. So, and he was wise to that university garbage that they're going on with today. Unless you're going through for mathematics or advanced mathematics, where you're going to work at NASA or something, good for you. The rest of that junk liberal arts stuff can go in the garbage can. Underwater basket weaving and the rest of the stuff is just stupid. But yeah, here we are today, still worshiping the same God called, knowledge, which really is not knowledge at all.
No, it's not knowledge at all, right? Yeah, I gotta go find the article. I believe like 40% of college graduates currently today believe that they got a degree that they can't get a job in. It might be higher than that. It might be a little bit lower.
I think it's higher.
And if they spent or they're in debt all that money for getting this college degree, and
I know.
you say underwater basket, we all laugh about it, but it's just some sort of liberal arts degree
Yeah.
that
Mannequin
doesn't
babysitting was like,
translate. It just doesn't translate to modern day business.
no, and you know what? I think
And
it's,
they're like, why the fuck did I do this to myself?
I know. And I think it's over half that will never get a job in the field they studied for. So you're right in saying that, but it's a lot higher than 40%. It's over 50%. So over half the people that go to university for a certain field or subject will never get a job in that field. And you have to give it some serious thought before dedicating 3 to 4 years of your life into a program you'll never see again. So yeah, there's that to think about. But yeah, I'm just appalled at the whole system right now
So
because I'm not an agnostic by any means. So.
well, you work in an engineering field. Uh,
Mhm.
when if I know it's a smaller company, but it's still a good company. Yeah, when you look at new hires, are you even bothering to look at college grads, or are you just looking at people that are just super inquisitive
Hey,
to do the thing?
Actually, I would take that. You know, having a dum dum that knows he's a dum dum. Yeah, absolutely, because you can work with that. The other ones have been trained up in a certain way that has no relevance or bearing on what you're doing, and yet they think they do because that's what the professors told them. The dum dum teachers out there. Yeah, I'd rather start off with a clean slate, not something that's been polluted where you have to take all that work at taking all that away because it doesn't happen easily, and then build from there. Yeah, because you've already gone down the wrong road. So now we have to turn them around, walk them back to the Y branch, the right road, and go down. Yeah, it's a lot of work just doing that rather than just starting from a clean slate and going on from there. Yeah, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah, no, no, for sure. That's what I was actually asking you because I know you own a business that does
Yeah, yeah,
projects,
yes,
like actually infrastructure projects, right?
brilliant.
And who's the better candidate? A 4 year graduate of whatever college, or a high school kid that is willing to just go, I have no idea what you guys are doing, but I'm here to work.
You know, engineers. That's another subject that is a needed uh,
Oh yeah,
trade or if
absolutely.
you want to say profession. We need that because yeah, I'd hire one of them instantly because they already got the number crunching down the math. So it's a very valued profession or business to get into. So yeah, there's that. I would definitely have that. That is worthwhile. The rest, yeah, but that's not liberal arts. But yeah, that's
No, no, no. That I can't. No, I'm picking up what you're putting down. My question is the liberal arts candidate. So these people that went through school to get a liberal arts degree,
I know. I love those guys.
and we're not picking on them. We're pointing out something. Would that be a better hire than a high school kid that's just like, dude, I know how to fucking AI and I will design the shit out of your stuff,
Great stuff. Great kid. Yeah, I wouldn't take a
right?
liberal arts person because going to university briefly, I got to tell you, the stupid stuff they teach kids as far as, and you get into stuff like even philosophy, some of the things they call a philosopher, it's not even close to philosophy. Philosophy means getting to the root of a thing. So when you get these idiots, and I can't think of the guy's name right now that, you know, oh, I always thought, why would you put him in that same group when he was an absolute dum dum? But that's what we got today. The libtards professors, what they give you for knowledge, supposedly, is not anything like what we're supposed to be getting, but they throw that in there anyways. And I have no idea. Oh, Frederick Nietzsche was the guy's name, you know,
Oh,
absolute
yeah.
retard. And they think, oh, he's a philosophist. No, he's not. You're giving them airtime they didn't deserve. You're the one giving them the airtime. As a matter of fact, I said to university, I couldn't find any books on one of my favorite philosophers, Immanuel Kant. You know, it says, oh, we don't have them as university. We've taken, well, what do you mean you've taken them? I thought this was a freedom of information. What do you mean you've taken them away and we can't read them? Who are you to start banning books now or information from us? You know, so we get in that argument now, but because she was the dean, you know, there was no sense in argument because I wasn't going to win. But yeah, I couldn't believe
No, totally, but that's the whole
it.
point is
You
that
know,
you can't win. You're only going to accept or whatever it is, leanings
yeah,
on whatever
I
subject
know.
it is, right? That's
Yeah,
science. The whatever, and I'm not trying to be gross about this, but that's what all colleges have turned into,
I know. And
right?
you know what the funny part about the whole thing? The favorite book I was looking for, because I lost my original, was A Critique of Pure Reason. Now, if you don't want you knowing what pure reason is, you know, then I think we're in the wrong school. And I guess we all are at this point in the game because no university wants you to know have any pure reasoning or pure judgment skills. So yeah, we're back to their psycho-cybernetics programs or neuro-linguistic programming, I should say, which is just pure.
I'm gonna let
Oh, it
we
is.
got what do we got? We have 5 minutes left. I'm totally gonna let you rip on the globalist and the World
No,
Economic Forum
no,
because because all of Western society is controlled by that. Well, let's just
I
be
know,
honest about it,
I know.
and that's what Edward and I, or JC and I, or Paul and I are fighting back against. Is giving you actual true information about whatever happened, and you're not getting it. You're not getting it on your TV. You're not getting it on your social media, probably because of who you follow, and that it. But it's also by design. They designed this whole thing to feed you the narrative
Yeah.
of that socialism is good,
Mhm.
and we can do it right this time, and that Donald Trump is a dictator or an authoritarian. We've debunked all of that over and over and over, but that's what you're hearing. And so then you also get to the point where, like, if you hear the lie over and over and over again, it becomes truth. So
Becomes journalism.
it comes journalism.
That's where we are today. I'm telling you, that's where we are today.
Oh my god, so true. It becomes journalism. Holy cow!
Yeah, so here we are, and I don't want to go off, for the few minutes, even if we got that much time left, on the globalist movement and the era that we have today is not going to be the one we want. So it's almost pointless because the true, and I'm going to say, mega, because the Republicans isn't just hitting it hard enough. Megas are never going to get the ground or the airwaves. So they're not going to get the stage. We know that. That's going to
It's
be
here on Rumble. It's here
that's
on
all
Rumble,
you're
by
gonna
the
get.
way.
That's all you're going to get because it's not going to be in the public square or any other community center that we had long ago because we just don't have those public squares anymore. And we don't have the speakers either for it because pretty much everybody's afraid now of speaking out or their own shadow, even because of where we find ourselves now as far as being jailed and all our supposed freedoms being taken away, which we're never supposed to. If you can take their freedom away, we didn't have freedoms to begin with, did we?
Absolutely
Everyone,
true.
yeah,
Absolutely true.
all just a farce. That's all it is. So there is no such thing in this country I live in as far as freedoms go, because if you can take them away, they were privileges, not a freedom. And this is the country I live in now, where it wasn't like that.
So you live in Canada. I live in America. I live
Uh-huh.
in America, but I just want to affirm what you're saying. Like, so in about 2018, I stopped wearing MAGA gear out in public
Why?
because I know I was afraid to be
Oh,
unalive.
yeah, yeah. I know it's true. Yeah,
Right.
right. No, I get that. Yeah, true. Uh,
So I will wear something like this, right? It's a Betsy Ross flag, the 13
I love that.
original states,
Yep.
and then the stars and stripes that you. But I'll wear stuff like that out in public, but
It'll still get you. It does
I
get you kicked
don't
on the
wear
plane.
anything, and I have plenty of it. I don't wear MAGA gear because I don't want to
Yeah, I know.
run into some violent
But how can
person
you?
that's gonna unalive me because of they like we're different. We're absolutely different. Like
Oh yeah,
I will have a conversation with you on the left if you want to have a conversation, but you don't want to have a conversation. You just wish me unalived
I
so
know.
that you can have your ways. And even hey, I gotta get into this real quick, Edward. The problem is once they get if they can successfully get rid of MAGA,
Yeah,
the progressive left, the communists, will come after them, and
yeah.
they don't know that yet.
It's true. Yeah, that's just the useful idiot statement that goes back to the early 1900s. But yeah, you're right in saying that. They don't know that because, again, they can't think things through and don't want to take the time to put the real labors in thinking, really, as Henry Ford said. And they don't want to. They just want to just copy off what somebody else says. It sounds good. It feels good. So I'm going to run with it without thinking about it. And that's where we are with most libtards today. And yeah, I'm using that because tard means, they're retarded, they're just set back in their thinking, so it's true. Yeah, but I lost my original thought. I was going to go on with what you had just said, but I think we're almost out of time anyway. So I think I'll save that for another day, another hour. 'Cause that's going to take me to get through it. Yeah,
Well, and all right, so everybody's that's listening, we're gonna have plenty of hours. We don't run every day, which is brilliant. You can get like if you want to hear content every day, obviously Twitter Spaces. We'll give you some of that stuff, but now you're getting into echo chambers. I'm not
No,
attacking anybody who
no,
does spaces. I'm not attacking anybody who does content on other places. I'm telling you, you're going to have an honest conversation with people when you follow Orange Podcast Bad, and we disagree on stuff like all the time. Sometimes we agree,
that's
and
okay.
sometimes we're best friends, but sometimes we totally disagree.
Yeah,
And this is the best place that you're going to find to talk about this thing. We also don't doom scroll very often. We talk like you can go. You're like, I want to hear about what just happened. With Erica Kirk.
yeah.
That's not the stuff we do. We're very well aware that Erica Kirk just received, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. We don't talk about it because we talk about much more serious topics.
The whole
Not
world
that that
knows.
wasn't a serious topic. We
Hmm.
talk about stuff that's more global to your health, to
Family.
your health. No, 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 not health, but your spiritual health, right?
Yeah. Well, that is
And then
help.
we explain things to you that you're not going to hear on your TV
No,
or
you
on your
don't.
Facebook or Twitter feed, depending on who you follow.
No one
So
wants to hear the truth, anyways. Overall, it's so
it
rare because the truth hurts.
blows my mind. I
Yeah,
gotta, and I told this to JC the last show we did on. I think the last one we did was part two of I Am the Science, and I
yeah,
said, one of my aunts is in her 80s,
yeah.
and she believes her TV, and she sends me a
Most idiots do.
massive amount of stuff that she's disinformed by, including pictures of like it doesn't matter what channel it is. Yeah, I'm like, oh, and so I debunk all this stuff. I really do. I debunk it, but she's like her response is, "Oh, I get it. You love Trump." I was like, "No, I attack Trump just as much as I attack everything else. Your stories that you sent me, Aunt, are wrong. They're false. That's not what's really happening.
But how do you?
Propaganda, Edward,
I
which
know. But
is
how do you?
is the name of the game.
How do you explain to them that the supermarket tabloids, like the ones we had, National Enquirer and whatnot, aren't real and aren't true? How do you tell people that that's just fake news, and and the same with network news today? It's all fake news. But how do you tell the older generation stop reading the tabloids and the network news because they're not true, and they've been paid for, paid by other organizations? It's not real
Let
information.
me answer that real quickly, and then we gotta close it out. But let me answer that real quickly. It's not my generation. It's not her generation that is really gonna be the new voter. We
Oh,
cannot explain that to them. We have to understand that they have moved on or are moving on, and that they hopefully they all go to Jesus. That'd be great. I would love that. But that they obviously were propagandized. And then we look at the younger generation, which is Charlie Kirk's bringing 120,000 by just dying new voters that
yeah,
are all 18 to 22.
yeah, good age group too, because that is the new voters coming up.
That's the new voters. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you and I are obviously we're still alive, we're still well, but
Hmm.
even us, our generations are timing out,
Yep. They're
right?
dropping numbers. Yeah.
And I just see I see a really good movement back towards Christian conservatism in the West, but only in America, and I don't see that happening in Europe, and I want to see it happen there.
Right. Yeah. That's a big change you need for that because you get rid of a whole demographic of the Muslims. Never mind, just it's the religious stuff we have to take care of first, and the Muslims would have to either change or get lost because it's not going to happen under those circumstances. We know that.
Before I close out, isn't religion the reason for politics?
It is. Absolutely is. And that's why we have to keep it at the forefront and keep it valuable and important as far as supporting and paying attention to, instead of letting somebody else do it, as most people do in this country. Oh, they'll take care of it. No, they won't take care of it. They're going to do what it's good for them, not you. And that's already been proven to be true throughout the last, well, I'm going to say 2 to 3 decades. So, yeah, and there's that, and here we are.
Absolutely. We got to close it out, everybody. Thank you so much, Edward. We love the Yankee and the Canuck.
Always a pleasure. Yes.
Wow, super. It's fun. And we finally got one that was good for you.
Okay.
Dude, I love all our guests. Sometimes when we're doing targeted shows, it makes sense to you. Alright, we'll close it down, everybody. Have a good night.